This is SoulCharge, the podcast for women leaders to take the highest level of ownership of their power to create results now. I'm your host, Stacy B. Let's dive in. Today's episode is all about my favorite topic, and one that by the end of this episode is going to be your favorite too. And it's actually your natural state. And my intention with this episode today is to reconnect you to this natural state and to also open your eyes to the truth that things have been a lot more challenging than they need to be. And your natural state is one of creation. Creation is this episode, and I'm so excited to dive in with you today. Creation is your natural state. Creation is your birthright. Getting exactly what you want is your birthright, and it is why you are on this planet at this time. And one of the things that has been so dominant in my life, and it has totally been, for my own experience, it's been why I am personally on this planet, is I literally see only open doors. And I want to start this episode getting right to it with you, which is I want you to ask yourself this question. Do I see only open doors? Or do I see some open doors and some closed doors? Do I see open doors and want to walk through those doors and believe that I can walk through those doors? Or are some open and there's a chance I could have what I want, but there's also a chance that's going to be hard. I'm going to have to work hard. There's going to be challenges. Because the fact is that we all have a choice. And I love the quote that says, what is not changing, you are still choosing. And if you have the singular belief that there are not open doors that you can walk through in all areas of your life, that means that on so many levels, things are harder than they need to be. And creation is like the mother's womb, right? Creation is our natural state. It says that we have the ability to cast a vision and realize that vision. And in the pursuit of pursuing that vision and achieving that vision, not only do we benefit, but everyone that's involved benefits. Not just those people that are involved, but then the ripple effect that our employees, their families, and their families, and beyond and beyond and beyond. And I could keep going. But the message here is your belief about being able to have what you want, get what you want, which was the previous series, all boils down to creation. And creation and creating what you want is very much hindered by simple things that you may be doing every day. And so I want to draw your attention to these things, shine a light on them. What happens when we shine a light on it? When we shine a light on it, the power that it has removes itself from us. And in the pursuit of creating what you want, the biggest thing I see in the powerhouses that I work with is that they talk more about the struggle and the problems. And I want you to hear this. Are you doing this too? The powerhouses that I work with, they talk about the problems that they have, the struggles that they have, and they spend the majority of their time trying to figure out the solutions to the problems. You can see very quickly that this gets to be the opposite of creation mode, because if we are spending time trying to figure out solutions to the problem versus skipping all of that and going into creating what it is that we want, we literally get to take a completely different path. One, when we are going into a problem and trying to figure it out, we drop down to the level of the problem. When we instead elevate ourselves, our mindset, our outlook, and say, what is it that I really want here? I can then assume the energy of the end result I'm actually after. And in that energy, I get to assume that result. I get to think from that, and I get to think about what I really want and if the steps I'm currently pursuing actually get me there. when we're trying to figure things out that we don't even want anyway. Like, how often in life are we actually trying to solve for things that once we're at the level of the problem, even solving that has us drop down into the problem so much that there's so much energy we have to then put forth towards what we're trying to create anyway. And what I'm saying is, let's stay in creation mode, but let's see the little ways we unconsciously are navigating our lives and reinforcing struggle, reinforcing our focus on the things that aren't working. And when we're doing that, we're not only getting off the highway of creation, but we're dropping down into the level of the problem, which is not even what we want. And so I want to bring your attention to these little things that you might be doing every day that unknowingly is getting you more aligned and in resonance with what you don't want and taking you further away from what it is that you're trying to create anyway. And this is a big thing that I see in women leaders is a lot of times after so much of this behavior, it feels like we lose clarity. And losing clarity for a visionary is a slow death. It is a slow burn and it is painful because clarity in our vision is our superpower. So when we lose connection to that, it's extremely painful. What you have to see is that the behaviors that are happening day in and day out are nurturing disconnection from the state of clarity. And when you are, trying to figure something out or you're kind of focused on what's not working, that's actually what causes further disconnect from what it is that you want. And so if you are experiencing any confusion or lack of clarity or questioning your direction, I actually want you to pose the question to yourself of, am I really unclear? Or where has my focus been lately? Can I see that I've been focusing on problems or employee issues or corrections here, things going on in the business, problems that are happening. And it's actually that I can see once I bring my attention to this, that what's happening in the business is actually taking the clarity because it's where my focus lies. And so that's a great, simple reflection of, is it really that you're unclear or has your focus just been in the wrong place? And so now that I've kind of titrated and talked about a couple of simple things you can do looking at like what's taking you away from that clarity, what's taking you off the highway of creation, there is one core belief that I want to share with you that is absolutely required to play in the land of creation regularly. And you can play with this belief so that it resonates best for you. But the belief is very much around what you think is possible. I have a belief that is personal to me that on every cell of my body, in every cell, in every bone, every part of my body, I 1000% believe that I can do anything. I can do anything. The systems I build can do anything. I totally believe that anything is possible. If I am clear on what I want, I know that I can fulfill it. I can make it happen. I have that belief. I truly believe that there are only open doors for me to walk through. There are only open doors for me and my family and my companies to walk through. I believe that my presence enters rooms before I physically enter them. I inherently believe that there are no limits. Why that is so instrumental in the creation process is because I am not going into my creations with barriers. And you might be. You might be starting things, and before you even are getting started, you're talking about why it won't work. Before you are even getting started, you may be saying, oh, let's shoot for $1 million this year, but really what you want is 10. You may be cutting yourself short before you even get started. And I am here to tell you that there is another way. There is another way that is, in my opinion, the highest form of expression, because we were not created to start with our limits. We were created to start with our expression. That is so good. Play that back. We were not meant to go into things thinking about why it's not going to work first. We were not born to be pessimistic. We were born to be one with our creation. We were born to be one in oneness with what we create personally and professionally. And I can go out on a limb and say that in the majority of what you have created, you feel a fragmentation. And it is my intention that by listening to this episode today, we neutralize that for you. You come into a deeper and greater level of awareness and understanding of the little things that happen in our lives, the little ways we show up that we don't even realize we're limiting ourselves when there is another way. There is a way that you can enter into a new venture or a new business opportunity, or even look at your existing business opportunity with fresh eyes. Even if you are 10, 20 years in business and you are feeling disconnected from your creation right now, and you are feeling, any sort of form of dissonance, anything less than totally jacked up, excited, and on fire for what you're doing, I promise you, we can bring it back to this singular thing. You feel separate from your creation. And as soon as you set that right, you are going to see the magic flow again. At some point in time, if you have been in business for a while, when you've created something, the relationship with it shifts. The expectations shift. Your attachments to it shift, right? As your life changes, as the business changes, as things unfold, the dynamic shifts. We are made to create. In that creation is our expression. If you are going into what you create already in limitation, what you create will never be the full expression of you. And by the way, the secret to creation is being all of you. Where you are struggling right now, if there are struggles going on for you in your business and in your life, I can confidently tell you that those are the areas that you are not being all of you. And even if you tell me, no, Stacy, I am fully self-expressed and I am being all of me, the areas that you are currently struggling are asking you to up-level, because there is a bigger, better, brighter version of you ready for expression, and you just don't even know it yet. That's why you need your SoulCharge, so then you can reach out. But I promise you, that's what's going on. What is going on is you and your full expression, being all of you, stopping shape-shifting, stopping accommodating and tolerating, and being what the world, and frankly, being what you think the world wants you to be. That is the opposite of creation. That is limitation. Your ability to create, and create quickly and with ease, is directly linked to how truthful you are being in your expression of you. And so if things are going really well right now, but you're ready to take it up a notch, I want you to look at where you are creating and it feels really aligned, and ask yourself, did you settle, or did you just start somewhere here? Did you really want to do double the revenue, or did you really want to launch the team pre-revenue, or whatever is going on? Just ask yourself, what is the biggest, fullest expression of what I really want? Because You're meant to create. And in the creation process, we think that it's like, I got to do this and then that and then this, and then I get what I want. And I'm here to tell you today, I want you to have what you want today. Sometimes I want that more than you, right? Because you can't see it, but I'm here to reveal you today. I'm here to speak into you today that today there are things in your life that you are sacrificing on, and those little sacrifices are compromising the areas where you are playing full out. You're not able, it is impossible for you to play full out in one area and be sacrificed in another. You are not fragmented, you are one. Your business is mirroring aspects of you that are working and not working. Look closely. Your personal life is you pushed out. That is what the law of assumption says. These are universal laws. These are not made up. These are not woo-woo. This is just truth. It is truth. We must take this so seriously because here's the thing. This is what is so cool, is that the things that you want to shift in your life, the creations that you want to create, the things that you want to manifest are all hidden in the areas that you perceive are not working right now. Because if you bring your attention to those areas that aren't working, whether it's in the business, something's a little off, or in your relationship, something's off. If you can start to see, it is me, I am one, they are me. Like there's nothing separate about any of this. As soon as you see that truth, what happens is it becomes a game of shifting. So it's like, once you identify, this is the process that we take our clients through. But first identify these areas that are blocking your creation, because you have to see the truth of it. You have to see this. When you are misaligned in one area, when you are self-compromising, when you are focusing on what's wrong instead of what's right, when you are not celebrating, when you're not doing those things, it is literally a treasure map of the dissonance in another area of your life. So if you are, let's just take a concrete example. If you, on a weekly basis are just focusing on what could be better, what's falling short, kind of this laundry list of things that need to improve. That's how our brains work, right? As entrepreneurs, we're constantly trying to move something from level 2 to level 10. That is the process of entrepreneurship. But the internal state does not have to follow that process. And that is what I'm saying. Because if you are inside noticing the struggle, if you are inside focusing on the gap, right? What happens is, even though you are outside, externally efforting your way from point A to point B, the internal struggle is a huge anchor and it is completely slowing you down. And so when we are looking at creation and creating what you want and getting what you want, the first step that I want you to lock in and load up is this. Can you allow yourself to want what you want and to create what you want without limits going in? Ask yourself, what is the wildest, coolest expression of what I want? Can you allow yourself to want that? I talked about this in a prior episode, but it's coming up again to mention. When I ask you that question, can you allow yourself to want that? What I want you to see first is the truth, which is, if you can't allow yourself, the truth would be, no, I can't allow myself to want what I want. That is the truth. I don't want you to skip over that and just go into force, push, build mode. Because when you can see, that's so interesting, I don't allow myself to want what I want, that's actually what neutralizes the program. That's actually what neutralizes and puts down for good the idea that you don't get to have what you want. And so guess what? When you allow yourself to sit with that, and it's often very quick, when you allow yourself to sit with that truth, you then actually can go into the creation process and creating what you want in a completely different level of alignment because you're not trying to resist what is. When you are seeing in yourself, that's so interesting, I enter things that I want with limits first. We could talk about it's because of what happened when you were a child. I honestly don't care about any of that. All I care about is you changing now so you can get what you want. That is the only thing that I care about. I am not dismissing what happened when you were a child. All of that is lovely and I honor it. But guess what? You probably don't freaking remember it because let's be honest, it's been a few years since you were 6. And so like the point that I want to get across to you is this. Can you see so you can be free? Can you see, oh, I don't allow myself to get what I want? And then notice, oh, I wonder why. Well, I don't want you asking why, because if you ask why, you have to answer that with another story, which just brings you further down the rabbit hole. So instead, I notice that I don't allow myself to have what I want. Can you see that without a story? Can you see it without judgment? When you do, I promise you, you will feel free. Because you see, oh, that's interesting. I can't allow myself to have what I want. Then the opposite can naturally come because that is the law. The law says, this is the SoulCharge law, remove resistance, restore power. Remove resistance, restore power. If you see in this example, I want to create something. That is the desire, but then I'm adding resistance, which is I don't allow myself to have what I want. I want this thing, then I don't allow myself to have what I want. That is the resistance. Creation cannot be fulfilled when there is resistance. We must neutralize it, right? And so that is a simple takeaway for you to just be able to see and be free. But the point is when we're in creation, when we then see, oh, I don't allow myself to get what I want, then you sit with that. And for all you movers and shakers out there, I know you want this yesterday. And so just know that sitting with it sometimes is an instant. Sometimes it's longer. It's not even about how long or short it is. It's just, can you be with the truth? The truth always sets us free. So once you see that, then you can step into creating what you want and not compromising on that. How many times do we want what we want? We want to go on that trip. We want to do this thing. And then maybe you find yourself, pushing it off or not getting to it because this, that, and the other happens, or like putting it off again for no other reason, but just because like you ran out of time. And it's like, all of those things are creating resistance within you because there is also this requirement in creation that you must self-honor. You cannot self-negotiate your way to creation, right? And so the biggest thing here is, what is your underlying belief about getting what you want, creating what you want? And is that based in limits first? If there are limits around your belief that you can create anything you want, your belief that anything is possible, if there are limits, can you see the truth without judgment? And I promise you that if you can see that, then you can really start to lean in and assume the end. Are you loving SoulCharge? If so, hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and share an episode. We want to bring powerful content to women leaders each week so that women can be unleashed to create the results that they want now. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.